Okay, these are a few of the sources I have to teach the differences between capitalism, free enterprise, communism, and democracy. And this is very sanitized information about the Koreas and North and South Korea and why they're divided. Really hard. They talk about the DMZ for this much, and then there's a tiny map. They talk about North Korea's rich in resources and natural resources, and South Korea isn't. But South Korea has a much better economy due to free market. So the kids aren't going to understand. Okay, and then here's China transforming itself. So it alludes to, infers, or implies that people are going to understand China's policies and labor practices and ideas about freedom and censorship, and you're not going to get it from this. There's a tiny bit of information about Taiwan, this much information about Mao, and talking about economic growth. 10 pages of fluff. There's just no way. Okay, now the third source we have is this printable book called China, a 4th grade reading level book. Here's the table of contents, and it's very sanitized. So if you want kids to really understand, and that's what one of the goals of this was for them to understand the difference between free market and capitalism and communism and censorship and freedom and personal expression, and why President Obama, when he goes there, has to be very polite, but he asks about having the students and people having access to Twitter and the internet without the Great Firewall. So that's why we have to find a lot of resources outside these three that will lead to something helpful. And the way I'm doing it is making a web. So every 2 students is going to have a plastic bag full of these. They have 1 square for each source we're going to use. So our CNN report on Obama in China from 2 years ago, talking about human rights, will be here. The pink is probably going to be when we're talking about Tiananmen Square and the tank man standing in front of the one man standing with his shopping bag in front of a tank, stopping a whole line of tanks. That fascinates the kid. And then their notes will go around there. We just watched Inside North Korea by National Geographic, so their notes will go around this. So, and it's really important that they take their own personalized notes that have things that are important to them. It has to be in their words or they won't remember. And you'll find that lots of people will ask you, what am I supposed to write? And then if you think what you know about blooms, you're going to be thinking that the higher levels, if the higher level would mean a synthesis of information, meaning they would be able to take the information they've heard and process it and express it in their own words. That would be a higher level of understanding. So if you take the notes on the board and they're writing, all they're doing is going through the mechanics of writing it out, not the cognitive process of thinking about what they did. They're more likely to remember notes that they wrote in their own words than they are the notes that you write on the board for them. Okay, so I have a number of sources that I'll make available to the kids, and this will take several days.